Reuters reported that there was a masked gunman who shot dead a Yemeni security chief on his way to work at the U.S. Embassy. Joining us is our foreign policy expert, Stephen Yates. You can find him at the DCI International Advisory. And this is, I think we're going to be talking to him repeatedly throughout the weeks as we get closer to the election. Stephen, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us again.
Hi, Dana. Good to be back with you.
I want to get to what Debbie Wasserman Schultz said, but this story that came out this morning from Reuters, apparently this was the work of al-Qaeda, says a Yemeni security source. But here we have a security chief on his way to work at our embassy who was shot dead. And there have been a number of attempted attacks on different staffers associated with our U.S. embassies across the Middle East. And this seems to, I haven't, Stephen, after all of the reports came out that our State Department had denied security requests from a number of embassies, it doesn't seem that they've gone back and remedied this problem. Here we have, this particular incident. This seems to be getting worse and worse, and the administration seems to continue to do nothing.
That's absolutely true. And I think it begins at a very high level of falsehood, where you deny that there's actually a war declared on us. And you basically deliberately take the country off of a war footing. And through your own budgetary and management decisions, you take all of our forward deployed assets off of a war footing. You do this, declare the tides of war receding. Al-Qaeda has been decapitated. All is well. Al-Qaeda is dead. NGM is alive, and you keep going and going down this slippery slope, and lo and behold, Al Gore-like inconvenient truths don't stop coming in because the war has not been undeclared. Al-Qaeda has not been decimated, and we have to get serious about defending ourselves. And not only did they use and abuse Susan Rice, who seems too hapless or incompetent to have realized it, they continue to try to push forward a very partisan lie that somehow it's the Republican Congress's fault for cutting back on diplomatic security, when that budget is actually quite large, larger than most Americans would understand. At $1.8 billion a year, how would you have a shortage of ability to take seriously security in these war zones?
Well, and we put in athletic fields down in Gitmo, and apparently we spent some of our money on a soccer team, but we don't have enough money to beef up the security of our own embassies. And this is and the stonewalling that we're seeing from the Department of Justice. And the words that you heard in that audio from Debbie Wasserman Schultz, well, just because it was wrong doesn't mean it was false. Well, there were reports from folks associated with the consulate in Benghazi saying, look, we knew that this was a terror attack within hours that this took place. And yet the entire time, it was this administration that was going out crediting something that had nothing to do with it, saying it was this video that was what was responsible for it. Almost like they were giving, I hate to say it, but almost like they were giving, like shielding these groups who actually carried these attacks out. That's a lie. They were lying to the American people, and they're lying about lying now.
Well, there is no doubt in my mind that there was some group of people in the White House who knew the truth very, very quickly. And those people with that knowledge aided and abetted Susan Rice in going onto all the major networks to put forward a statement that was known by them at the time to be false. We can have the benefit of the doubt for poor Susan Rice, perhaps. She should have known better, but there's no doubt that there were people in the White House informed by the intelligence community, and very obviously, given the State Department's changed briefing in recent days, people at the State Department who knew what the truth was and allowed this lie basically to be put forward repeatedly and continues to be defended.
Right. The situation in Yemen with this particular security chief who was shot, it doesn't seem to me, and your expertise would be able to tell a little bit about this, it doesn't seem to me that it's just they're randomly shooting people outside of embassies. I mean, this guy was the security chief. He'd been the security chief over at this embassy for more than a decade. And this guy was the guy who his responsibility was to coordinate security information between Yemeni authorities and the U.S. Embassy, and he apparently was also involved into the investigation into the attack on the embassy and the consulate by these protesters who are going on about this video. It seems as this doesn't seem random, like they just picked off a guy who happened to work there. This seems to be like they were very selective about who they targeted.
Yeah, exactly right. It doesn't seem like the equivalent of a drive-by shooting in the hood. It's just basically someone who's been targeted for assassination. Look, these activists in this region, enemy Islamists, the people that the administration dare not name, they have a couple of large priorities. One is to push us out. Second is to punish, in other words, kill anyone who collaborates with us. And then third, to push out or eliminate anyone left behind who doesn't believe in their interpretation of their ideology. And they're deliberate. They keep going. And I think it's just high time that we take it more seriously.
Is Darrell Issa going to get what he wants and have a full-on investigation over this, or is this going to end up being like Fast and Furious, where you have credible, obvious scandal and stonewalling, and it should have been. It seemed as though it ended with just a chirp. There was no climactic ending. It was just very, oh well, we're going to throw a couple of people under the bus and that's it. It seems like they're already trying to get people positioned to throw under the bus for this, and that they're going to try to sweep it under the rug.
I think it's very much more likely to go the direction of Fast and Furious investigation, but I do see some differences. I mean, after all, if there is a body public out there that takes seriously what was said in the past about Bush lied, people died, the Obama administration has very obviously lied, and people haven't stopped dying as a result of this. It has real consequences in both Fast and Furious, but also this other instance. If people flood the Hill with calls, if people flood their media with interest in this, perhaps there can be a critical mass. Obviously, the president and his campaign want to run as far as fast away from this, and its allies in the mainstream media will try to downplay it and deflect. But it's going to take some persistent, tough questions. Hopefully, there'll be an opening tonight with Paul Ryan's performance with Joe Biden tonight. Supposed to have some foreign affairs component to it. I hear allegedly a foreign correspondent is the host. Or the moderator, you would think that this is exactly the headline that ought to get kicked back and forth. Do we have a serious strategy for security? Do we have a serious strategy for this volatile region? What exactly have the Obama administration been doing?
Exactly. A quick question regarding the debate. Joe Biden was selected by this president because he was apparently a foreign policy expert. Maybe I've missed it, but where's this so-called foreign policy expertise, and how has it been implemented into the Obama administration?
Well, it's a good point. One would hope that a diligent moderator might find a tactful way to put that very question forward. And he's living proof that quantity of experience does not equate to quality of judgment, and it definitely has nothing to do with accomplishment. I mean, really, there is almost no serious issue he has played a front and center role in. And really, when it comes to the retreat from Afghanistan and Iraq and undeclaring our war on terror and things like that, I just don't see where his expertise has come in. And you even have embarrassments like dealings with Russia, where Biden has invested a generation of his life, and that entire relationship has gone awry.
Yeah, well, the debate should be very interesting to watch tonight, and we'll keep our eye on all of the developments with embassies overseas. Stephen Yates, DCIadvisory.org. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your expertise again this week.
Thank you, Dana.